Last week we saw the debut of NXT UK. This week we saw a whole bunch of new faces along with some people that we know pretty well. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your October 24th NXT UK review. Now, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of the house cleaning this week because there is something a little bit more important on the docket. I do encourage you to go back one video. We all know what happened on Raw this week, the announcements made by Roman Reigns about his medical condition and subsequently leaving WWE, forfeiting the Universal Championship, etc. Black Cat Feline and myself did about a half-hour video just giving our very immediate thoughts, very unscripted, very raw, no pun intended, reactions to that news and how the fans are reacting and how WWE is treating the whole situation. It is very good, I think. I went back and listened to it today. For doing collaborative recordings, I recently got myself a new headset, so a lot of the sound issues that come from the Skype recordings hopefully are going to be better in the future, but that is far from the point. The point is the Roman Reigns news, his fight with leukemia, his obviously relinquishing the Universal Championship and leaving WWE for now. There is the subsequent story that we could talk about at a later date about what happened to the rest of the Shield, but that's something you should go check out because it's been a long time since I've done a video like that. I was very, very glad when Kristen contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to? This is a pretty big thing. Do you want to get online and talk about it?" So please go check that out if you so desire. NXT UK this week. Gotta say, still love the intro. It's really good. The gold and red imagery of Why is that a thing? Yes, my ringtone is The Walking Dead. We're going to we're going to do that so that we're not being bothered again. Sorry guys. It's late in the day already. Anyways, love the intro, love the gold and red imagery of NXT UK. Like I say, I love the belts, even though we haven't seen most of them yet. I'm going to talk about the women's division in a second. The first match was really weird. It was sort of like a Wild Kingdom type thing, because two guys I'm not very familiar with, Ligero, which in some circles is known as El Ligero, apparently. Correct me down in the box if I'm wrong, because this is, again, somebody I'm not used to. Didn't predict tuning into a UK show to see a luchador, which is fine. Definitely didn't predict the wild boar Mike Hitchman coming out with his big tusk mask and the jacket with the tusks on it. And he makes me think of really, really early days Taz. Now, that might be because I have a bias. I'm a huge fan of Taz, etc. But this guy is not the biggest guy in the world, and he's nuts. And I think the comparison suits. It's different watching a match when you don't know either of the competitors. You're sort of like watching, looking for something to link onto. Ligero, with the big exaggerated horns, with the big British flag luchador mask, is a bit of a different look. And Mike Hitchman, once he gets all the regalia off, the tusks and the spiky jacket, whatever, is in relatively regular ring gear. I think he's got black contacts, etc. But it made for a really interesting match because you've got Wild Boar, who has the build of a big person but isn't actually big. He's a stocky guy, he's a thick-built guy, but he's not a giant by any stretch of the imagination. So to have him going up against Lucha was really good. A boot and a beatdown by Hitchman to start, and a Hurricane Rana by Ligero. Back chop and a standing moonsault by Ligero. Back elbow and a second rope drop kick by Ligero. Leaping corner spear exploder suplex combination by Hitchman. Neck vice by Hitchman. Cross body by Ligero. Hitchman, I'm going to keep wanting to say henchman. That's the other thing too, or Hitman, or something like that, because Hitchman is not a name that I've heard a whole bunch. And Ligero is pretty much the same thing. Series of lariats by Ligero, a forearm and a drop kick. Now we got a nice, concise set of really high impact moves from Hitchman, from a running senton to a corner cannonball to a Kevin Owens style pop-up powerbomb, but a boot and a spring boot and a very fast springboard tornado DDT by Ligero gets the surprise win. You get this big long sequence of really big power moves that should take down the quote-unquote smaller guy, but he comes back with a quick boot, catches him unawares, I guess you could say, with that springboard tornado DDT, and gets a quick a quick win, because video package is what we have coming up next. I really can't speak tonight, apparently. Video package on Dakota Kai and Killer Kelly, because that's our next match. Now, two very different things here. Dakota Kai, you guys have heard me talk a lot about in NXT. I've referred to her very many times as Bayley done properly. I just think she's great. I think she's criminally underutilized in NXT, so if she's going to find herself a better platform in the NXT UK brand, all the power to her. Killer Kelly, as you guys know, I wasn't as familiar with. She was at the Royal Albert Hall show in that triple threat match, and as well as being in the Mae Young Classic this year. I'm becoming a fan of hers. She's very snaky in the sense that, like, she's violent, but not aggressively violent. You see, like, the evil smile, the mouthpiece only enhances the evil smile element. And, you know, the whole stalking your prey, you know, could strike at any minute, you know, Killer Kelly out of nowhere, I guess you could say. But she mixes that with a little bit of that MMA feel, like real fighter feel. I get the same vibe from her that I get from somebody like a Sonya Deville, whereas it's not quite, you know, Baszler, Rousey, they came straight over from UFC, but there is that realness, or at least that striving for realness in the way that she presents herself, and the more I see her, the more I like her. And obviously she was taken out pretty early in the Mae Young Classic, so cool to see her here. Collar and elbow tie up and a headlock by Kelly and a takedown by Kai. Corner cradle attempt by Kai and a double foot stomp when that doesn't work. Jawbreaker by Kelly. Corner forearm and a boot. Mounted strikes by Kelly. Surfboard dragon sleeper combination by Kelly. Now this is interesting because you get that surfboard, and it's always a really awkward thing to set up, where you tie up one leg, tie up the other leg, grab both of their arms, you sort of pull them back in that big arch. But instead of pulling her way back into that arch, she pulls her head back into a dragon sleeper. So literally she's got her tied up from top to bottom. That's really cool. Snap vertical suplex by Kelly and a hesitation drop kick. A snap German suplex by Kelly and snake eyes by Kai. She sort of drop toe holds her into the second turnbuckle. She eats the turnbuckle face first. It's really good because she's got a really good snap when she responds to that. Both women trade some strikes. There's a crane kick by Dakota Kai. I think I saw a couple of other people online calling it a scorpion kick. So if that's what it is, again, I'm always open to it. Throw a correction down in the box below. Double hoover kick by Dakota Kai, and then she hits that insane rolling backbreaker, code breaker thing that she does and gets the win. Now, on the one hand, big fan of Dakota Kai. Happy to see her get a win. Killer Kelly, who's somebody we're not as familiar with, probably could have done with a victory. I would have been happy either way. Dakota Kai is a little more established, and when I say a little, I mean a little. I mean, she's on the NXT platform, but she's hardly ever used. Killer Kelly hasn't had the platform for us to say that she's hardly ever used. So it's a catch-22. Killer Kelly could have done with the victory, but as a fan of Dakota Kai, happy to see her win. We see a replay from the Royal Albert Hall special a while ago. Zach Gibson winning the fatal, not the fatal four-way, winning the tournament to face Pete Dunne on the second night, and as we know, he faced Pete Dunne in a great match, but he lost. He comes out to cut this promo, and as much as I hate to say it, it was sort of a paint-by-numbers bad guy that didn't get the job done promo. He talks about the fact that he's Liverpool's #1. Soon he's going to be recognized as the world's #1, but most importantly, he's going to be NXT UK's #1. He talks about his match with Pete Dunne, and he says, of course I didn't win. I had to beat 3 guys the night before. You were going in fresh, and you know that a fresh Zach Gibson can beat a fresh Pete Dunne. He asked for a rematch. He never got it, and Dar, the guy that did get it instead, didn't get it done either. Then he sort of goes in on Dar a little bit, because he says, you know, I'm a face you can build a brand on, unlike Noam Dar. He was an embarrassment in the CWC. He's an embarrassment on 205 Live, and I promise you he'll be an embarrassment here. If you Google Noam Dar, you'll see pictures of him doing all his stupid poses, which, again, it brings up the whole, like, I don't know what this is. The pingy thing that Noam Dar does. I don't get it. The commentators tonight made a bunch of references to the number 11. I don't know what that means. If that's a UK thing, they need to properly explain that to a North American audience that may not get it. Noam Dar comes out. He doesn't even make it halfway down the ramp before Johnny Saint comes out and just looks at both of them. And it's so unlike a WWE or even an NXT proper GM where it's like, oh, you have an issue, okay, we're going to have a match right now. Johnny Saint comes out, you know, logic prevailing, just says, no, both of you, don't even dare you, in my office now. And that's it. He's like the disciplining dad of NXT UK. And it's just so different that it stuck out. It was really good. Backstage, we see an interview with the Kiwi buzzsaw, Travis Banks, talking about wanting to call out the two Coffey brothers, which I don't know how advisable that is, considering they're both huge and there's only one of you, but whatever. Ashton Smith versus Tucker, no last name. Two guys, again, much like the first match, that I'm not very familiar with whatsoever. Immediately, I'm a big fan of Ashton Smith. Ashton Smith, it seems to have, and I mean, physically he does look like him, but watching him in this match, he reminds me a lot of Ricochet, like a lot. I don't know whether they've ever worked together. Roddy Raw, indie fans will be able to tell me. But he's fast. He's especially fast for his size. He was fighting a much smaller guy, so the size thing is able to be as obvious as it is. But just for a guy I don't know, I always talk about how wrestling is always a little bit better. You can see a 5-star match, but if you don't know either of the guys, you don't care about either of the guys, you're not going to get a 5-star enjoyment out of it as much. Yes, to my friends out there that like the New Japan stuff, Omega, Okada, I watched it. I said, ooh, it's a good match. I don't care. But for a guy that I don't know, this guy grabbed me throughout this entire match. Collar and elbow tie-up and a snapmare by Smith. Collar and elbow tie-up again and a hip toss by Smith. High knees and chops by Tucker and an Irish whip. Hard uppercut by Smith and a low drop kick by Tucker. Front face lock into a headlock toss by Tucker. There's a long, prolonged pinning reversal sequence, a series of strikes by Tucker, a drop kick by Smith. The drop kick by Smith was picture fucking perfect. Let me just tell you that. More strikes by Tucker, vertical suplex by Tucker and a headlock, back suplex by Smith, and more kicks by Tucker. Corner high knee, corner haluva kick. Now he's got him. I'm going to do my best because, you know, when I try to like explain stuff to you guys, it doesn't always work out. But he is in the corner. He's got him in the corner. He comes at him from one side with this high knee. He comes at him from the other side with this haluva kick. And considering the fact that we're talking about a much smaller guy, both of the strikes lifted him right off the ground. Both of the strikes looked like it could have taken his goddamn head off. And then he hits the Ash Cloud, which is a really weird name for a move, but basically it's a ripcord into a DDT for the win. Ashton Smith, somebody that I've seen for the first time tonight, you've already impressed me. Congratulations. Hope you do well. Tucker, no last name. I don't know what to tell you. You were there to get beaten up while I was impressed by Ashton Smith. Now, maybe that's just my first time seeing him, and maybe he'll impress me in the future. Not shitting on the guy by any stretch of the imagination, because it does take two to tango and all those other cliches. But this night out was a chance for me to take a look at Ashton Smith, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a whole lot. We see a video package on Danny Burch, who's apparently going to debut next week, and I'm torn on this one. I really, really am, because as much as I think he could come here, he could be a force, I would love to see Danny Burch versus Pete Dunne at some point, or even Danny Burch versus Gibson. What this does, if he's moving brands, is it does split up that team of Burch and Lorcan, and I don't know that Oney Lorcan by himself on NXT proper is going to find a place to be. That's unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate because I genuinely like them as a tag team. But yeah, anyways, video package on Danny Burch showing what a badass he is, which we already know. A lot of footage from Progress, I'm just going to say. So, you know, show your allegiances, WWE. But also, like, at the WWE UK special, everything we've seen him do on NXT, a couple of clips from that that great match that they had at TakeOver, I forget which one. And he's voicing over the whole thing, talking about how he's a badass, how he came from nothing, and he's a scrapper, and all these things that NXT fans already know. But for anybody that's watching it for the first time, for some reason, we beat it into the ground. WWE's great with stuff like this, with production, with video packages, with montages and monologues and all that sort of thing. It's cool. I'm mixed on him switching brands, but obviously I like watching the guy in the ring, so anywhere he's going to be successful is good. We then see a tweet from Johnny Saint announcing that Zach Gibson is indeed going to take on Noam Dar next week as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's really cool for me, sort of in contrast to what I just said about Danny Burch, to see somebody like Noam Dar, who was on 205 when 205 was really bad, and he was doing the whole crazy Alicia Fox thing, the Alicia Fox, and then he got injured, and then, you know, I don't think he ever really brought himself back up to prominence in 205 Live. Now, granted, I haven't watched in a while, so I could be talking out of the wrong side of my mouth, but I feel like they're going to give him a better platform here. He's a move that I like. Dakota Kai is a move that I like. Danny Burch was a guy that was already sitting pretty good, and that team had just come back to TV, so I don't know how I feel about that one, not going to lie. Tell you what I do like. I do like Tyler Bate, and I do like Wolfgang. Wolfgang is one of those guys who sort of floated with the other UK guys when they were on NXT proper. I think he's a really fun guy to watch in the ring. Tyler Bate, you know, part of the Mustache Mountain thing, part of the British Strong Style thing. Again, I'm a little bit biased because I've gotten to watch Trent Seven, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne a lot at Destiny here in Mississauga, so I really am a fan of what those guys can do, where it is a little bit more technical, but Tyler Bate will still surprise you with some high-flying stuff. Now, obviously, the story in this match was the size discrepancy, etc. There's a couple times in this match where Tyler Bate, the much smaller guy, is asking Wolfgang for a test of strength, and Wolfgang's not shitting on him whatsoever, but he does laugh at him a lot. Like, are you fucking serious? It is fun, and it's not. It wasn't like sort of paint by numbers. He's the big guy. He's the more powerful guy. He's the underdog. So Wolfgang's automatically going to be a heel. Wasn't like that. Doesn't have to be like that. Life isn't that cut and dry. So when you have just two great guys in the ring and you don't say, okay, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy, let's go. I mean, if you stay away from stuff like that, you stay away from things like The Big Show turning heel again. Just saying, there's a reason I don't review Raw and SmackDown. Anyways, Tyler Bate, Wolfgang, on commentary, they make a huge deal of, hey, these guys are both trying to make their mark, both trying to niche their spot in the pecking order to get a UK title shot. Obviously, they make a lot of mention of Tyler Bate being the first ever UK champion, and how Pete Dunne took it from him, and how it was a classic, and all that sort of thing, and how, you know, Pete Dunne's had it ever since. I think he's the longest running champion in the company as we speak. So obviously we have like good friends, better enemies situation between Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne at some point. I hope so. I really do. Even Trent Seven, take the three members, do the Shield thing. And I'm not just saying that because of the whole Roman Reigns thing that's going on right now, and they're all over the place. But I'm saying, like, take British Strong Style, do the Shield thing with them, and have the three of them face each other at, like, if the rumor is already they're talking about NXT UK takeovers, and if you want a show that's going to sell out, have Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate versus Trent Seven. I think that would be fucking amazing. Anyways, enough of that. Enough of me procrastinating. Enough of me speculating and just talking about what I would like to see. Let's talk about the match itself. Collar and elbow tie-up to start, and Bate works the arm and turns it into a headlock. We get a weird mind game from Wolfgang where he's sort of, he picks up Tyler Bate where he could just slam him anywhere he wants, but instead he just politely puts him on the apron, gives him that nod like, I could have tossed you anywhere I wanted to, but instead I just put you down on the apron and let you think about it for a second. Tyler Bate asks for that test of strength that I was talking about a second ago. And then as soon as he actually does put Wolfgang on his knees for a second, Wolfgang reverses, gets him on his knees. He escapes, reverses it into a dropkick, gut shot by Wolfgang. From the gut shot onward, you got Wolfgang working on Tyler Bate's midsection the rest of the match. And it's fucking gorgeous. Tosses him across the ring, hits him with a high knee in the gut. Elbow drop and uppercuts by Wolfgang. Wolfgang hangs Pete Dunne gut first over the top rope. Forearms and uppercuts by BATE, hard Irish whip by Wolfgang, and a gut wrench submission. The gut wrench submission gets transitioned into a bear hug by Wolfgang. Both men trade some punches. High knee, and a second rope uppercut by BATE. Series of lariats and an airplane spin by BATE. Airplane spin on a guy the size of Wolfgang is always going to be impressive as hell. Standing star press by BATE, and he sells the midsection, which is fucking wonderful. Spear by Wolfgang. Now, with all the selling that's happened, with all the focusing on the midsection that's happened in this match, the spear could have realistically been the end of this match, and I would have been okay with it. But spear by Wolfgang, but a headbutt by BATE. Wolfgang misses a swanton, and I will say, it's kind of like me talking about Lars Sullivan doing his diving headbutt. It's kind of like me talking about Killian Dane doing a suicide dive. Watching somebody the size of Wolfgang do a swanton bomb is fucking terrifying. Anyways, but he misses that swanton, so it's only really terrifying for him in this scenario. Rolling kick and a Tyler Driver 97 gets the win for Tyler BATE. Now, we're getting into this territory now where we kind of know who the brand is going to be built around. It's going to be built around Pete Dunne. It's going to be built around Tyler BATE, Trent Seven. It's going to be built around by a few key women that I can think of in their women's division. I don't want that to be obvious to the point where anytime I see these guys in a match, I know they're going to win. I don't think that'll happen all the time. I really don't, but it is concerning already when I see stuff like this. Obviously, Pete Dunne had to win last week. He's the champion. Tyler BATE and Trent Seven came out last week. They were throwing down the gauntlet to all the other tag teams. So you got to start off on the right foot. But as I say, you got a fun guy like Wolfgang, who I would love to see have some success in his own right. The one thing I did want to say about the women's division, we do have the Evolution pay-per-view this Sunday, and it's been rumored the whole time, and it's more than a rumor. Spoilers have been published everywhere about a UK, because the UK Women's Championship in actuality has already been established. We already know who the women's champion is. We just haven't seen it on TV yet. Now, the spoilers told us that we were going to get an NXT UK Women's Championship match between that champion and a specific challenger. I'm not going to give it away in case there's people watching me that don't want to hear spoilers, but we heard nothing about that tonight. So I don't want this to be a surprise announcement on the night, and I don't know how they're going to address the time difference, because it's happened in real life, but it hasn't happened in TV time yet, if that makes sense. So I don't know how they're going to square that, or if they've just scrapped the idea of having that title on the pay-per-view whatsoever. I hope not, considering who the champion is, considering who they named as their #1 contender, and the fact that I'm a fan of both women. I really hope that match is happening, but you're going to have to do a lot of explaining real quick at the pay-per-view if you want that to happen, which is not the best in the world. I mean, it kind of makes you believe that they should have started airing the shows maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, but we don't know what led to that delay. I will say as well, I'm glad they didn't start it until now, because last week and this week, I'm going to be doing 3 reviews tonight. It's going to be this, it's going to be NXT proper, and it's going to be the Mae Young Classic. Now, after this week, there's no more Mae Young Classic, so it's just going to be the 2 NXT reviews. But if I had been sitting here right now doing NXT UK, NXT, and Mae Young Classic reviews the past 5 weeks, I would be rambling even more than I am, because I would be dead tired. Talking about next week we got the in-ring debut, the in-ring NXT UK debut of Danny Burch. We got Zach Gibson versus Noam Dar in the main event. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys. You guys for a little bit now. Watch out on Fight TV for Destiny Wrestling's first ever pay-per-view, Fearless. I dropped a couple of the names that are going to be involved in the show last time I talked about it, but we now have the official main event announced. Now, a little bit of backstory. Up until very, very recently, WWE UK champion Pete Dunne was the Destiny World Champion. Now, due to injury, he couldn't come over from the UK to Mississauga to defend his title against Josh Alexander, Toronto boy, hometown boy, etc. So they needed to crown an interim Destiny World Champion, and it was fought between Josh Alexander, low key, and one of the local guys within the federation by the name of Aiden. Now, Josh Alexander got his hometown victory moment. He is the Destiny Wrestling interim world champion. He's going on to Fearless on Fight TV to face Rich Swann and Ray Phoenix. So if you weren't already going to check it out, you might want to check it out now. Tell them I sent you, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.